If you're not where you want to be in life right now, then there's really only one reason for that, and it's because you're avoiding the hard truth. And that is that, unfortunately, nobody's coming to save you. And if nobody's coming to save you, then the only person that can save you is yourself. It's a hard pill to swallow, but the sooner that you accept that, then the sooner you can move on and start taking accountability and really making some positive change in your life. Unfortunately, if you're broke, out of shape, if you don't have the job that you want, if you don't have the relationship that you want, if you feel stuck in life, it's not down to bad luck, it's your habits. There's a saying that you don't rise to the level of your expectations or the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your habits. And whether you know it or not, you have habits. Everybody has habits. The real question is, are your habits, the habits that you have right now, are they serving you? Are they serving your larger vision for what you want to achieve for yourself? Or are they taking away from that vision? Are they actually causing you to move in the opposite direction? We talked about goal setting in previous videos, and it's really important to have goals, right? We want to know where we're trying to go, but success isn't built on goal setting. Success is built on the stepping stones between where you are today and where you want to get, which is that larger goal. And those stepping stones are the habits that you form, that you use on a day-to-day basis to do the things that you need to do in order to get to that larger vision of success, the goal that you've set for yourself. And we talked about starting small, the smallest version of the habit you're trying to achieve. On top of that, we need to start to introduce the concept of non-negotiables. Non-negotiables meaning that no matter what, this gets done. Even at the end of the day, if you haven't done the thing that you told yourself you were going to do, it's a non-negotiable. You cannot leave it until tomorrow. You have to do at least the smallest version of that today so that you can go to sleep feeling like you have achieved what you set out to do today. You've taken one more step down the stepping stones toward the larger goal, the larger vision that you crave. Unfortunately, most guys won't achieve the goals that they have, not because they can't, like physically they can, they have everything it takes to achieve their goal. It's because the habits that they have right now are reinforcing weakness. I hate to use that word weakness, but really that's what it is. It's falling into a default easy mode rather than amping up the difficulty just a little bit so that you do the hard thing, the smallest version of that hard thing, to get you closer to where you want to go. So as far as I can tell, there are 4 big reasons as to why this default of weakness or default of doing the easy thing is so prevalent in guys' lives. And the first one that I think that we need to talk about right away is hustle culture. The fake hustle and toxic productivity culture that has most guys, myself included at a time in my life, grinding without any real strategy that will inevitably lead to burnout. So the lie is that more work equals more success. But the reality is that it's not about more work equaling more success. It's about smaller, smarter steps that you take on a consistent basis that leads up to the larger goal that you're trying to achieve. Everybody knows that old story about the tortoise and the hare. The tortoise is much slower and takes his time, but ends up beating the rabbit because the rabbit just goes all out right away and then gets so tired because he sprinted and he felt he was so far ahead of the rabbit that he could take a rest. So he naps, and then the tortoise walks by while the rabbit sleeping and ends up winning the race. That's realistically the approach that we need to take, rather than grinding every single day, rather than burning the midnight oil with no real strategy, especially a strategy to mitigate burnout. It's good to take a step back and ask yourself, okay, what do I really want to achieve here? And then how can I strategize an efficient way for me to take daily steps that meet my current ability today, knowing that I'll be able to build on it over time. Unfortunately, this whole hustle culture, grind set mentality, it leads a lot of guys to experience injury in the gym because they're just pushing and pushing and pushing and not really focusing on quality of movement, but just the quantity of weight that they're moving. It also leads to thinking that more is better, more of anything is better, but that more is better, that max effort, that hustling without any real strategy, working for the sake of maximizing working, it's going to lead to burnout and you're going to get no results, or the results that you get will be so fleeting and minuscule compared to the amount of energy that you put out. The second reason ties into this hustle grind set culture that we've found ourselves in, which is the do everything perfectly mentality. Perfectionism leads to paralysis. You want all the things to fall in place perfectly before you start. You want to know all the variables before you start. You need to know exactly what this is going to look like step by step by step. You want to know what the finished product's going to look like, and all of the potential downsides, all of the potential pitfalls, all of the potential alternatives. You want to know everything before you even start. I'm no stranger to this. I remember one of my bosses years ago, I was taking forever on a project. I think I even said, it's not perfect yet. And my boss said, well, you know what's better than perfect? done is better than perfect. My boss was right. Done is better than perfect, because if it's done, you can iterate on it. We talked about the concept of an MVP. I'm not going to go over it all over again, but you need to take the steps. You need to take the actions. You need to be doing something with a plan in place. You need to know what steps you need to be taking within reason, so that as you take those steps and as you see what works and what doesn't, you can make adjustments, you can tweak, and then you can evolve it over time and make better and better decisions. Martin Luther King said you don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to take the first step. And that's really the mentality that we need to adopt, instead of the I need to do everything perfectly mentality. Overthinking leads to no action. If you consistently wait for the right time, you'll never start, because there is no right time. And if you have a fear of failure, it's going to lead you to never starting in the first place, because just by doing something, you will fail at something. There is nothing anybody has ever done any time in history where they haven't had at least a few failures along the way. So the fix for this is just to start. Do something. Take the first step and just know that the staircase or the path will reveal itself as you continue taking step after step. The third reason people really have a hard time with personal accountability is the victim mentality. It's really easy to blame external factors for why you're stuck, but the reality is that you need to take radical responsibility, and that will help you get unstuck. Even if you think that you're in your position because of somebody else, maybe your boss is preventing you from getting a raise, or the place that you live is preventing you from having access to something, or you have a challenge that's preventing you from getting the body that you want, whatever it might be, that may be true, but it doesn't mean that it's preventing you from progress. It's just a factor you have to account for. The faster you take radical responsibility for really everything in your life, the faster you can take steps to find ways around or to change your approach so that you do have more power or more acceptance of the very challenges that are causing you to feel like you're stuck in the first place. It's really easy to justify inaction by finding every excuse under the sun to do so. But blaming your genetics or society or your circumstances, it might feel in the moment like it's the right thing to do, or it's giving you some reprieve from feeling negative about your situation, but ultimately it makes you powerless. And the longer you wait to take action because of your circumstances, the more the feelings of anxiety or depression or just general negativity about your current situation is going to compound on itself, and it's just going to make your life miserable. So the fix for this is just to own everything, all the good and all the bad that happens in your life. It's your responsibility to take ownership for that. And you might have a lot of resistance to me saying that. It sounds like it might do the opposite. Like it would put a lot of pressure on your shoulders or make you feel even more powerless, or kind of beat yourself up for the circumstances that you find yourself in. But there's like a switch that flips as soon as you look at your situation, everything that's included of it, and go, oh, this is my own doing. I am responsible for everything in my life. The more quickly you can look at the reasons why that might be the case. What has been your outlook on life? How have you interacted with the people around you? What have been your decisions that led up to this point in your life? And you can do a retrospective and then start to say, okay, well, if these are the things that I did, or these are the decisions I made, or this is the way I acted, and it's led me to the circumstances that I have right now, how do I want my life to be different? What are the circumstances that I do want? And how can I start to make changes to everything that I've done to get myself here so that, these circumstances change in the future? Like I say, some things you might not be able to change, and that's perfectly fine, but taking responsibility for them will allow you to see maybe ways around them or alternatives to the challenge that you're facing right now. The fourth reason why people have a really difficult time with personal responsibility is the instant gratification mindset. Especially these days, we're all addicted to our phones. Reels are like 30 seconds long, and you're just doom scrolling with new dopamine hit, new dopamine hit, new dopamine hit. You're constantly getting this reinforcement of instant gratification, and it allows you to just waste away the day. All good things in life, whether it's a healthy bank account, a healthy career, a healthy relationship, a healthy body, a healthy home, your personal environment, all of these things require your ability of delayed gratification. If you're going to build your perfect body, the one that helps you feel strong and confident, you're not going to have it tomorrow by doing something that you did today. You're going to have that maybe 6 months from today or a year from today, but you have to start today, and you have to stay consistent today and tomorrow and the next day and the day after that, and the week after that, and the month after that, and even the year after that, in order to get where you want to get. But eventually you'll get there. Same with finances. You might only make $3,000 a month or whatever it might be, but you need to find a way in order to forego, let's say 10 to 15% of your income to put in a savings account or some type of saving, put it away. You cannot use it, but eventually one day in the future, years down the road, if you do that consistently, if you delay your gratification over the course of 10, 20 years, you'll have a sizable amount of money, especially as your income grows, as your sources of incomes diversify. You'll have built up financial security by delaying the gratification or just foregoing 10 to 15% of your income. But our life right now is full of social media that gets us in that doom scrolling mode to get hits of dopamine, reel after reel for hours on end. It's full of junk food, full of fat and sugar to instantly gratify our taste buds. And then we feel like crap after and we get depressed and we really beat ourselves up for that decision. It's full of video games where you can get locked into a completely fabricated world for 3 to 4 to 5 hours on end or more. I know people that will literally spend all day on video games. And the one that not enough people talk about is corn. I don't think that there's been anything as devastating to the mindset of men and the relationships that they have as the corn industry. And if you really want to break it down, every time you choose comfort, you are weakening yourself. And I hate to sound like David Goggins.
Who's going to carry the boats and the logs?
Because there are moments in life where you need comfort. But I think you know what I mean. I've said this before. When you go to bed and you have that feeling of guilt, it's probably attributed to the moments where you could have made a better decision about how you spent your time. In those moments, every time you choose comfort, you end up with weakness. You're weakening your ability to delay gratification so that you can build a life that you actually enjoy. And I think one of the big fallacies here is that, well, if you do this, then you're just going to live this rigid lifestyle where nothing is going to be fun. But that's not the case at all. It really is like the Pareto principle is found everywhere in life. 20% gets you 80%. If you just focus on the things that will make the biggest change in any area of life, if you just focus on that 20% that makes the biggest change, it will get you 80% of the results. 20% of the decisions that you make around fitness will get you 80% of the results. Fitness and nutrition, I should say. 20% of the decisions you can make around finances will get you 80% of the results. 20% of the decisions you make about how you spend your time consuming media will get you 80% of the results that you're looking for. And you know what these are. Everybody knows exactly what they need to be doing. It's just a matter of whether or not we do it. And as I said, it comes down to delaying gratification. So I'm sure that this feels like a bit of a hard truth, but I want you to stick with me because we're going to look at ways for you to finally overcome instant gratification, the hustle mentality, the all or nothing approach, the trap of blaming your external circumstances. What I would like you to do is take a look at those 4 areas that we talked about, and I want you to, on a piece of paper, write them out as headings. In point form, list out how your relationship is with those 4 areas that keep men stuck. So first one, what's your relationship to hustle culture, that toxic grind set mentality and the manosphere that's telling you that you have to do it all, and if you don't, you're not a man? How do you relate to that? And how do you feel that that has been potentially hindering your ability to take personal accountability? Then write down perfectionism or do everything perfectly, that mentality. How has that been hindering your progress and prevention from taking accountability for, where you want to end up in life? Next, write out victimization mindset. Have you been blaming your external circumstances for where you are today? And if so, exactly how? Like, write it out in sentence form. Who is to blame? Why are they to blame? And then what I'd encourage you to do is start to look at ways for taking personal accountability rather than laying the blame on them. Because if the blame is out there, you're powerless. If you take responsibility back, if you take responsibility for your current circumstances and everything that's happened to you up to this point, then you can start to take your power back. The 4th thing I want you to write down is instant gratification and your relationship to that. Where are you spending your time right now, making decisions around your time to get instant gratification, get the dopamine hits, whatever it might be, whether it's Instagram or video games or corn or whatever it might be. And then ask yourself, when you go to sleep, how do you feel about those decisions? Do you tell yourself that tomorrow you'll make a different decision with the time you spent on those things today? Write down how you can start to make those changes. And again, the smallest version possible, right? We're not trying to do everything at once. That's one of the 4 that trip everybody up, is that you have to do everything perfectly all at once. We want to look for small wins. So out of those 4 areas, what are your relationship to those things? And then start to reframe how you see them so that you can take your power back in all 4 of those areas and take personal accountability, personal responsibility for all 4, so that you can actually start to make these small changes. So what I'd love to hear from you is, in the comments below. One, if this video helped at all, that's the number one thing. I'd love to hear from you. And if it did, I want to know which of those 4 areas have been the most challenging for you, or maybe insidiously preventing you from taking personal accountability and preventing you from seeing the progress in your life that you'd like to see. Maybe it's all 4, but if there's one that's really sticking out to you. And then I'd also love to know, like, what is your plan right now to make a change to that, the smallest version of the larger change that you'd like to make, so that you can start to move towards your goal. Thanks again for watching this video. I would love it if you subscribed, if you left a like. I love reading your comments, so please leave a comment. And if you look in the description of this video, I should have a worksheet that goes along with this video for those 4 areas and an accountability checklist, something to help you kind of kick this off so that we didn't just talk about it today, but you're actually doing something about it. And I'll see you in the next video.